Heartwarming transformation. How 30 nights of tea from a cleaner revealed an incredible change in 2 lives. Clara poured the steaming water over the delicate tea leaves, watching as the swirling colors danced in her favorite chipped mug. The aroma filled her tiny kitchen and curled around her like an embrace from the past. With the sun setting outside, the familiar scent transported her back to carefree nights spent in her mother's kitchen. But today, the warmth only highlighted the cold reality of her life, a life where every moment felt heavy with obligation. Her daughter Lily sat at the cramped table, distracted by a world of screens, her teenage worries weighing her down like bricks. Yet, amid the struggle, Clara held on to hope. She worked long hours as a cleaner in the shopping mall, scrubbing floors, disinfecting toilets, anything to make ends meet for her little family. Each day felt like a marathon, but at night, the rituals of tea-making brought her solace. She envisioned better days, brighter futures. And as she handed Lily a cup, the love between them, though shrouded in clouds of financial stress, felt as real as the warmth radiating from the mug. One evening, after a particularly grueling shift, Clara stepped outside, ready to seek comfort in her tea when she caught a glimpse of Mr. Thompson, their next-door neighbor. He stood on his porch with his head bowed, radiating an aura of quiet sadness. Rumored to be a war veteran haunted by his past, he rarely ventured out. Their worlds couldn't be more different. She was wrestling with bills, and he was weighed down by shadows of loneliness. But that night, Clara's heart pushed her forward. "Want to join me for some tea?" she called out, surprising herself with the offer. To her astonishment, he nodded. In that moment, an invisible bridge began to form. Over steaming mugs, Mr. Thompson shared his stories. His laughter was bittersweet, full of hardness yet warmth. Clara spoke of her struggles of being a single mother, and the dream she had for Lily. They both found solace in their tea, as if the warmth could melt the barriers surrounding them. The deeper they went, the more they began to see beyond their differences, revealing the shared vulnerabilities of humankind. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days passed, their tea-sipping sessions became the highlight of Clara's frantic life, but whispers from the neighbors soon infiltrated their newfound refuge. Suspicion clouded their friendship like storm clouds rolling in before a downpour. Clara found herself caught between the judgment of the community and the bond she was forming with a man battling his own demons. Just when Clara thought things couldn't get any more complicated, an unforeseen crisis struck. Lily faced a choice that could drastically change their lives, forcing Clara to confront her own hidden fears. She realized she needed to show her daughter the strength that lay in vulnerability, elegance and empathy. Clara was torn. Could she risk everything to defend what they had built together? In that uncertain moment, she found herself standing on an emotional precipice, where everything she believed about herself and others was about to be reshaped. The threads of their lives were intertwining, and Clara took a breath, ready to dive into the unknown. But in the stillness, a shocking revelation would soon shatter everything they thought they knew. Would it be the end or the beginning of something truly transformative? Clara's heart raced as the weight of the world pressed in around her, leaving the answer unidentified but desperately awaited. Clara's palms felt clammy against the steaming mug, as she contemplated the delicate balance of her world. The vibrant flavors of the jasmine tea filled her senses, yet a bitter tang settled in her stomach when she thought of Lily's troubled expression earlier that day. What choice had her daughter been facing? The image of Lily's furrowed brow haunted her. Clara's heart thudded in her chest as she recalled the abrupt silence that had descended the moment they stepped off the school bus. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something." Lily's words had hung in the air, weighted with significance. But before Clara could respond, her daughter hurried off into the house, leaving Clara standing alone on the sidewalk, her hopes shattered now. Clutching the mug, Clara knew that whatever it was just as daunting as the judgment she felt from their neighbors. Could she rise to the occasion? Or would her worries suffocate the fragile connection she was building with both Lily and Mr. Thompson? That evening, she decided they needed a family meeting. Clara explained her idea to Lily, who had been immersed in her phone. I want to know what's going on, she said, trying to mask the quiver in her voice. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. You and me. Lily looked up from her screen, her eyes shimmering with a mixture of surprise and annoyance. I'm fine, she snapped back, but Clara could see the fatigue behind Lily's defensive facade. The crack in her daughter's armor had begun to widen. Clara felt that familiar surge of determination, while simultaneously battling the instinct to give in to frustration. Lily, please, she implored gently. I just want to help you. Let's make some tea. Just us. After a long moment, Lily sighed heavily and set her phone aside. Clara's heart swelled with relief as they moved to the kitchen together, the simple task uniting them in a shared space. While the kettle boiled, Clara glanced out the window, where Mr. Thompson was sitting quietly on his porch. They had forged a bond over the last few weeks, but she knew the whispers from their neighbor's wooden tea disappear overnight. Clara's heart ached thinking of him. Another person fighting battles in silence. Mom, what's the point of sitting out there and drinking tea with Mr. Thompson? Lily interrupted her thoughts with a tone that felt like a challenge. Clara sighed, stirring the sugar into her mug. I think he's lonely. Maybe he needs someone to talk to. If he's lonely, why don't you just talk to him instead of dragging me into it? Lily grumbled, turning her back to Clara, the tension in the room palpable. Because Lily, Clara said softly, he's not that different from us. Everyone needs connection. Lily shrugged, her thoughts still drifting elsewhere. Connection is overrated, she muttered under her breath. Just then, a sharp knock echoed against the front door. Clara and Lily exchanged a look. Did someone from the neighborhood come to confront them about the tea habit that was making waves? Or worse, was it about Mr. Thompson? Taking a deep breath, Clara opened the door, and the atmosphere shifted. There stood Mrs. Jenkins from down the street, her expression caught between concern and indignation. Clara, may I speak with you? She began, her voice crackling like dry leaves. And as Clara stepped into the uncertain future, the weight of the world seemed to gather once more, setting the stage for a reckoning that would challenge everything. What judgment lay behind that stern gaze, and how would it affect the fragile balance Clara had been trying to maintain? The answer lingered like a thick fog, ready to be unveiled. Clara's heart raced as she searched Mrs. Jenkins's face for clues, but all she found was a storm brewing behind those sharp eyes. Of course, come in, Clara said, trying to usher her inside with a welcoming smile, though her stomach twisted with anxiety. What could Mrs. Jenkins possibly want? Once they settled in the living room, Clara's eyes flicked nervously to Lily, who had retreated to her room, the door now slightly ajar. She sensed the tension in the air, a thick fog of anticipation that crackled like static electricity. With a deep breath, Clara's gaze returned to Mrs. Jenkins. I heard some rumors, Mrs. Jenkins began, her lips tight as she chose her words. About you and Mr. Thompson. Clara's heart lurched. The whispers had reached her ears as well, swirling like dark clouds, but she had hoped to shield her daughter from the judgment of their neighbors. Mrs. Jenkins, I assure you he's just a friend. A good neighbor. Mrs. Jenkins raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. A good neighbor? You've been spending a lot of time with him. Some folks think it's inappropriate, Clara. What are you doing? He's not. Well, the most reputable person in our community. The words cut deep. Clara felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. He's a good man, Mrs. Jenkins. He's been through things we can't always see. We all have our battles. A battle that could drag you into it, Mrs. Jenkins shot back, her voice a frigid whisper. Think about Lily. How is this affecting her? The accusation stung. Clara struggled to find her voice. I'm trying to provide a connection for both of us. Loneliness doesn't discriminate. I don't want her to feel isolated. Isolated? Or careless? Mrs. Jenkins continued, her tone low but accusatory. Your daughter needs stability, not someone else's burdens. People are talking, Clara. You should be focused on her, not on him. Clara opened her mouth but closed it again. The words stuck in her throat like stones. The burden of expectations weighed heavily on her. Under that scrutiny, her resolve began to wobble. I know it's complicated, but Lily, she deserves to be heard too. Clara knew without a doubt that Lily was wrestling with her own troubles, She could almost feel her presence lurking just beyond the door. Mrs. Jenkins leaned forward, softening slightly. I understand wanting to connect, but you must prioritize your child's well-being. Clara nodded, her heart pounding in reaction. She felt torn, caught in the riptide of her desire to help her neighbor and the need to protect her daughter. Facing Mrs. Jenkins felt like standing on a cliff, teetering between fear and freedom. Just then, the door to Lily's room creaked open, and she stepped out, her expression uncertain. Mom? Her voice wavered, echoing the tension that had wrapped around them all. Clara glanced from Mrs. Jenkins to Lily, the unspoken question hanging in the air. Would they come together, or would they be pulled apart? Can I talk to you? After whatever this is? Lily asked, glancing nervously between her mother and Mrs. Jenkins. Yes, sweetheart, Clara replied immediately, willing to do anything to bridge the gap. Mrs. Jenkins fell silent, watching the exchange, and with that, Clara felt a resolve harden within her. Whatever judgment the world cast upon her, she would protect what she cherished most. Thank you for sharing your concerns, Mrs. Jenkins, Clara said, her voice steady, even as she felt turbulence beneath. But I will make my choices for my family. As Mrs. Jenkins left, Clara's heart began to race again, the weight of potential revelations looming on the horizon. She turned to Lily, ready to embrace whatever was about to unfold. What did you want to talk about? But before Lily could answer, a shout erupted from outside, causing them both to rush to the window. What they saw froze them in place, a group of children surrounding Mr. Thompson, who stood on his yard, his expression a mixture of confusion and alarm. What now? Clara whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. Would this turn into something they couldn't manage? The answers were coming, but at what cost? Clara's mind raced as she peered out the window, her hands gripping the frame so tightly it hurt. The scene below felt like a nightmare unfurling in slow motion. Children she knew from the neighborhood, her neighbor's kids, were laughing, pointing, each giggle like a dagger aimed at Mr. Thompson. But his face, caught between confusion and an unfamiliar kind of hurt, made Clara's chest ache. Mom, what is happening? Lily's voice trembled beside her, pulling Clara back. She glanced at her daughter, whose wide eyes mirrored the storm inside Clara. They were both on the brink of something that could change everything. It looks like they're just playing, Clara started, but even she didn't believe her words. That wasn't the way children played. Not like this. There was hostility in their laughter, and it cut through her like a cold wind. What if they're being mean? Lily's voice dropped to a whisper, and Clara could see her fear bubbling just beneath the surface. It was the same fear Clara herself felt. Let us just wait a moment, Clara suggested, but her heart was already hammering. She didn't want Lily witnessing whatever was about to unfold. Her daughter was too young to shoulder this kind of heartache. Outside, one of the boys, Jake, threw a small stone, not hard enough to do damage but enough to make a point. Go back to where you came from, old man, he shouted, and Clara felt a tightening in her throat. The words hung in the air, thickening the already dense tension. Mr. Thompson, old, Clara said, her chest swelling with a mix of anger and protectiveness. He was just misunderstood. Lily looked up at her mother, uncertainty clouding her features. But Mom, what if he is a bad person? What if he really did something awful? Clara turned to her daughter. The question stung. Those were the very doubts she had tried to bury, deeper and deeper each day, hoping rumors would fade like fog in the morning sun. But she couldn't let fear dictate their lives. She wouldn't allow it. Without thinking, Clara grabbed Lily's hand. We need to go out there, she said, her voice firmer than she felt. She wasn't just protecting Mr. Thompson anymore. She was standing up for herself and for Lily's right to choose her own perspective. As they stepped into the crisp air, Clara felt the coolness bite at her skin, but it was nothing compared to the heaviness in her heart. The children's eyes turned toward them, innocent faces that had already formed a judgment. The world moved slower, every heartbeat drumming in her ears. Hey! Clara called out, her voice cutting through the laughter. The children paused, surprise drawn on their faces like curious masks. That's not how we treat someone, is it? Jake's smug expression faltered as he met her gaze, a hint of uncertainty flickering in his eyes. He's weird, he muttered, but his confidence had slipped. We're all a little weird, Clara said, her voice softer now, almost conciliatory. You'd be surprised at how much we all have in common, if you just take the time to talk. Lily squeezed her mother's hand. She seemed to draw courage from Clara, and Clara felt that strength ripple between them. But amid the charged silence, Mr. Thompson shifted his weight. His expression now caught somewhere between gratitude and despair. "It's okay, Claire," he said quietly. "I can handle it." The children shifted uncomfortably, and for a fleeting moment, Clara thought she might break through. But the moment passed, and she was left staring at their defiant stares. "What if we talked to Mr. Thompson together?" Lily suggested suddenly, surprising them both. "Maybe we could invite him for hot chocolate? Just to understand." Clara felt hope bloom in her chest. The warmth of belonging, of understanding, was powerful. They could reshape this story together. But would the neighborhood allow them? "Okay," Clara breathed out, her eyes steadying on the children. "Together." Just as the first hesitant nods began to appear in the crowd, a sharp whistle cut through the air, electrifying the atmosphere. Clara turned to see Mrs. Jenkins approaching, arms crossed. "This is not how to handle it, Clara," she warned, shaking her head. Clara swallowed hard, realizing the stakes were even higher than she thought. Could compassion succeed where fear thrived? And as the icy grip of uncertainty tightened around them, Clara wondered, could they change the tide and mend the rift before it consumed them all? Clara's heart raced as Mrs. Jenkins approached, her expression a mixture of disapproval and concern that seemed to wrap around Clara like a heavy blanket. "What do you mean?" Clara managed, meeting Mrs. Jenkins' piercing gaze. She sensed the weight of the moment, the eyes of the children lingering on every tiny gesture. The laughter had faded, leaving behind an uneasy silence that seemed almost deafening. "This is not how you teach your daughter about respect," Mrs. Jenkins replied sharply, her tone unmistakably condescending. "You need to understand that people like Mr. Thompson don't belong here. He brings trouble." Clara took a step forward, her fists clenching at her sides. "How do you know? Have you really ever spoken to him? Talked to him?" Mrs. Jenkins rolled her eyes, a dismissive gesture that made Clara's blood boil. What could he possibly have to say? Before Clara could speak, Lily tugged on her arm. "Mom, maybe we should just see what Mr. Thompson thinks," she whispered. The pure innocence in her words jolted Clara, reminding her of the responsibility weighing heavily on her shoulders. "Lily's right. We could at least try." Clara turned back to face the neighborhood kids, hope flickering in her eyes. "Let us invite Mr. Thompson for hot chocolate, and we could hear his story. It's the least we can do." Murmurs broke out among the children. Some looked intrigued while others snickered, uncertain how to react. Clara could feel the tension rise again, but she stood firm, her mind racing. Did she really have the strength to change their hearts, to change the tide of fear? Just then Mr. Thompson took a step forward, cautiously adjusting his glasses. "I like that," he said, his voice trembling but sincere. "It's not often I get invited anywhere." The air shifted. There was something vulnerable about Mr. Thompson that tugged at Clara's heart. She could sense the children's wariness melting away, curiosity beginning to sprout in its place. "Hot chocolate," Jake said, his voice tentative. "That sounds okay." "Yeah," another kid chimed in, still a bit unsure. "We could bring marshmallows too." The first hint of a smile crawled across Mr. Thompson's face. Clara felt a swell of relief, but Mrs. Jenkins was not ready to back down. "This is misguided, Clara," she warned, glaring at Mr. Thompson. "You can't just invite him into our community, especially when you don't know what he is capable of. Isn't it better to know rather than assume?" Clara shot back, the tension building between them like an electric current. "What if he brings joy instead of trouble?" "There's no joy in a stranger." Mrs. Jenkins crossed her arms tighter and glared at the gathering group. As the heat of the moment rose, Clara's resolve deepened. "We teach our kids bravery and kindness. It's time we show them what that really means." Her voice was steady, filled with the kind of certainty that brought about a ripple effect among the children. They began to nod, some murmuring agreement. Clara hoped desperately that whatever shift was occurring in the group could fracture the walls built by fear. "Let us do it," a girl named Emma piped up. "Hot chocolate and stories." Clara's heart fluttered. In that moment, she felt united with Lily and the other kids, bound by a thin thread of understanding that seemed to stitch their small community tighter. However, as smiles spread through the crowd, Mrs. Jenkins stepped back sharply, her face twisting with frustration. "You all are making a mistake," she warned, her tone a grave warning. "You'll regret this." Clara could only watch as Mrs. Jenkins marched away, her presence fading but leaving behind a chilling atmosphere. The laughter and excitement were still there, but a question loomed. Were they truly ready to embrace the unknown? Would this act of compassion propel them forward or open a door to unforeseen consequences? With her heart pounding and a sense of urgency surging inside her, Clara looked at Lily, determination in her eyes. "Let us head to Mr. Thompson's place and invite him over now," she declared. As they turned to leave, Clara caught Mr. Thompson's gaze, a mix of gratitude and apprehension reflected in his eyes. And in that delicate moment of hope, Clara wondered, could they navigate this path together? Or would fear pull them apart once again? The late afternoon sun streamed through the trees as Clara led the way, her heart racing with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. The closer they got to Mr. Thompson's house, the more questions darted around in her mind. What stories did he carry? And more importantly, could he genuinely connect with the neighborhood children who had just begun to see him as more than just the outsider everyone warned them against? Lily walked beside her, her small fingers looping through Clara's. "Do you think he'll like hot chocolate?" the girl asked, her voice brightening the dullness of worry clinging to Clara. "Of course he will," Clara replied, feeling warmth radiate from the innocence in her daughter's statement. "And if he doesn't, we'll find something he likes. What really matters is just being there." They approached a modest, weathered house at the end of the block, its garden untamed but undeniably charming. Clara knocked on the door, her heart pounding. After a moment, Mr. Thompson opened the door, his gentle smile fading into surprise as he spotted the small group behind her. "Hi," he stammered, his hands awkwardly adjusting his glasses again. The sight of him, so nervous among the kids and her, suddenly made Clara feel like they were intruding. "Mr. Thompson," Clara began, summoning her courage, "we thought you might like to join us for some hot chocolate at our place. The kids want to hear your stories." Mr. Thompson looked behind Clara at the gathering children, as if searching for their acceptance. They had been whispering among themselves, but now their gaze settled on him with curiosity rather than fear. "Well, that's very kind of you," he hesitated. Worry flickered across his face. "I wouldn't want to take your evening, but we want you to come," Lily exclaimed, stepping forward, her enthusiasm contagious. "It'll be fun. Stories and marshmallows." Clara watched as Mr. Thompson's tension eased just a bit, a playful grin forming. "Marshmallows, you say? That does sound tempting." Time seemed to stretch as he stood contemplating, but then clarity flickered in his eyes. "All right then, I'd love some hot chocolate. And to share a story or two." The kids erupted in excitement, the warmth from their laughter banishing any lingering fear as they moved toward Mr. Thompson, practically dragging him along. As they all headed to Clara's house, she glanced back at Mr. Thompson. His unease was fading with each step, but there was still a hint of hesitation in his gaze. When they arrived, Clara busied herself gathering supplies while Lily set up the table, bubbling over with excitement. The aroma of melting chocolate filled the air, accompanied by the laughter of the children. Mr. Thompson settled himself awkwardly at the edge of the table, glancing around at their lively chatter, a shy smile creeping onto his lips. "Is it okay if I start with one of my own stories?" he asked, directing his question at Lily, who nodded vigorously. "Please," she urged, eyes wide with anticipation. Mr. Thompson took a moment to gather himself, then began. "Once I found myself on a journey that led to an unexpected friendship. It all started with a simple act of kindness." As he spoke, Clara watched the children lean forward, captivated by his words. She could see the fear vanished from their faces, replaced by intrigue and connection. The room felt full of laughter, curiosity, and a shared sense of discovery. Yet, through the laughter, Clara caught a flicker of movement in the corner of her eye. Mrs. Jenkins stood at the edge of the yard, arms crossed, watching with a look of dismay. Clara's heart dropped. Would she come back to stir up trouble just as everything seemed to be flowing so beautifully? Had they opened the door to understanding or another wave of contention? Clara turned back to the laughter, focusing on the warmth enveloping the room, but uncertainty lingered, whispering the question. Would their newfound connection withstand the scrutiny that loomed outside their door? Lily bounced in her seat, her eyes sparkling with delight as Mr. Thompson wove his tale. Clara observed, a wave of relief washing over her. If the kids could see Mr. Thompson as a friend, perhaps the neighborhood would follow suit. "And that's how I found a turtle named Cinnamon," Mr. Thompson said, his voice warm. Laughter erupted around the table as he mimicked the turtle's slow motions. Clara couldn't help but smile at the joy etched on the children's faces. Just then the doorbell rang, piercing through the joyful atmosphere. It was a sharp reminder of the world outside, a world that could intrude at any moment. Clara's heart sank. She knew instinctively who it would be, but she pushed the fear down. "Hold on a second," she said lightly, trying to keep the energy up. "Stay right here. I'll be back in a jiffy." Clara made her way to the door, her steps deliberate but her heart racing. As she opened it, there stood Mrs. Jenkins, her brows knotted together. "Clara," she started, her voice low, almost conspiratorial. "Is that Mr. Thompson in your kitchen?" "Yes, it is," Clara admitted, trying to inject confidence into her response. "He's still that outsider," Mrs. Jenkins snapped, her tone sharp. "You can't let the children get too close to him. You know how people talk." Clara felt her spine straighten. Mrs. Jenkins, with all due respect, were trying to be open-minded. "He's not just an outsider. He has stories just like anyone else. And the kids, they love him." Mrs. Jenkins frowned. "Love? You think that's wise? He's not one of us. Perhaps being one of us means learning to embrace something new," Clara responded, feeling the tension rise. She knew this conversation could spiral down a path that always ended in bitterness. "Just be careful," Mrs. Jenkins warned, her voice quieter now. With that, she turned away, leaving Clara standing in the doorway, bracing against the chill of the evening air. The sound of laughter echoed from the kitchen, pulling her back. She needed to return to protect those moments of joy. Shaking off the remnants of the conversation, Clara shut the door firmly behind her. Mr. Thompson had continued sharing his story, oblivious to the tension that had just colored Clara's world outside. As she re-entered, she was hit with the smell of creamy hot chocolate and the warmth of curious faces aimed at their guest. She felt a rush of gratitude. This was what it was all about. "Clara, can you believe this?" Lily exclaimed, bouncing up and down. "Mr. Thompson has a whole adventure with a treasure map." "Did you really?" Clara asked, looking at Mr. Thompson, who appeared both surprised and proud of the interest. "Something like that," he chuckled, flashing her a shy smile. The ice was melting away. As the night wore on, the stories filled the room like starlight, brightening the corners that once felt dark. Clara watched, hoping that this new chapter could flourish despite the lurking shadows of judgment. Suddenly, the door swung open again. This time it was Max, one of Lily's friends, bursting into the room with wild energy. "Hey, is it true there's a treasure map in here?" he shouted, eyes wide with wonder. Lily squealed, "Yes. And guess what? Mr. Thompson's taking the kids on an adventure tomorrow." Clara's heart skipped a beat. An adventure? Mr. Thompson's face turned from surprise to excitement, but an undercurrent of worry bristled in his demeanor. "Wait, I didn't agree to that just yet." He jested, laughter tracing the lines of his face. Clara could see that familiar flicker in him, the flicker of anxiety mixed with the hope of belonging. "Come on, please. A treasure hunt," the children begged, their enthusiasm infectious. Clara watched as Mr. Thompson's hesitance started to melt, his smile widening. Had they really turned a corner? But before she could bask in the warmth of these warm thoughts, the spell was broken by a loud bang. A voice rang out from the yard, sharp and clear. "Wasting time with the neighborhood weirdo, are we?" All heads turned toward the window to see a group of kids from across the street pointing and laughing, Mrs. Jenkins standing behind them with an approving nod. Suddenly, laughter turned to cold silence. Clara's heart pounded. Would they let fear ride in again, breaking the joy they had just begun to build? Would they fight against one another or stand united as one? The question hung thick in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Would they band together to protect this fragile connection? Or would the shadows reach in once more? Clara felt her heart twist as the laughter faded, leaving only the chilling echoes of taunts. The looks on the children's faces shifted from joy to confusion. It was as if a cloud had rolled in, blocking out the light they had just gathered. "Hey!" Lily shouted, her small voice breaking through the silence. "You're just jealous because you didn't get to hear Mr. Thompson's stories." The determination in her words softened the blow, but Clara could feel the weight of doubt settle deep in the room. "Lily, sweetie," Clara began, but Mr. Thompson raised a hand gently, stopping her. "It's okay," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Let them laugh. They don't know me." Lily's resolve faltered a little, her small hands clenched into fists. "But they don't get it. You just told us about a treasure hunt." Her eyes sparkled with both defiance and hurt. Clara could see her struggling with the urge to defend Mr. Thompson while still wanting to fit in with her friends. Feeling the tension in the air like a tightrope ready to snap, Mr. Thompson moved forward. "You know, treasure maps aren't just about gold or jewels. They're about adventure, discovery, and sometimes friendship." His gentle smile spread warmth, and it reverberated even through Clara's swirling thoughts. "Why don't we show them?" he suggested, looking back out the window at the kids lurking beyond. "What do you mean?" Clara frowned, uncertainty creeping back in. "Let us invite them in. Maybe if they hear one of my stories, they'll see that I'm not such a weirdo after all." The confidence in his voice surprised Clara, pushing her worries aside even as doubt lingered. "Are you sure?" she asked, glancing between him and the door. "Absolutely." Mr. Thompson's eyes gleamed with determination. As if sensing the importance of his next words, he added, "Sometimes the best way to break down barriers is to let people see you truly see you." Lily beamed, her earlier somberness transforming into excitement once more. "Yeah, let us have a treasure story showdown." Clara smiled, a swell of pride and hope rising in her. Perhaps they were showing a lesson in courage and unity, not just to the group outside but to everyone in the room. Tentatively, she walked to the door and flung it wide open. "Hey you guys," she called. "Why don't you come in? Mr. Thompson is here, and he has got some amazing stories to share." The group of kids hesitated, the laughter fading from their faces. They exchanged glances, unsure how to respond. Mrs. Jenkins stood like a shadow behind them, her expression taut with disapproval. "What do you think?" One of the boys shrugged, his bravado faltering. "Come on, don't you want to hear about treasure?" Max shouted, urging them forward with infectious enthusiasm. Slowly, the children moved to the doorway, shuffles of uncertainty mingling with curiosity. Clara stepped aside, offering them genuine encouragement. "You'll love this. You can even join the adventure tomorrow if you want." The skepticism visible on their faces began to soften as they exchanged more glances. One by one they slipped inside, the atmosphere transforming with each new face. Mr. Thompson knelt down, ready to engage, and the room buzzed with low voices as the laughter and chatter began to bubble up again. Clara felt a spark of hope igniting within her. She watched as Mr. Thompson effortlessly shifted gears, his storytelling now weaving an elaborate adventure that engulfed the entire room. Tension hung on the edges, yet the warmth was palpable. But then it bubbled up to the surface again, a clear voice from the back. "What is he really doing here?" It was another kid, arms crossed and skepticism thick as fog. Clara felt her heart drop. Would the cracks in this patchwork of newfound relationships widen as they had before? Could she protect this moment from the harshness of doubt? The room fell silent again, all eyes on Mr. Thompson. Clara held her breath. What came next would either seal this bond or shatter it completely. Would Mr. Thompson step up to the challenge and rise above the doubt? Would he turn this moment toward acceptance or allow the shadows to creep back in once more? The answer hung in the balance, waiting to be revealed. Mr. Thompson stood, the weight of all eyes pressing down on him. Clara's heart raced as she felt the room hinge on his response. With a deep breath he leaned closer, engaging the children's curiosity like a fisherman casting a net. "You know, when I was on my own treasure hunt years ago, I faced challenges just like everyone does. Once I was lost on an island with nothing but a tattered map." He paused, gauging their reactions. The kids shifted, leaning in a bit more. Clara could see Lily's eyes wide, hope flickering back to life. "I didn't find a treasure of gold," Mr. Thompson continued, his voice steady, smooth like the warmth of freshly brewed tea. "Instead, I found a friendship with a stranger who shared their food with me, a simple act." He smiled, almost wistful as he continued, "That became my greatest treasure." Friends help us through storms just like the map guided me. A few kids gasped. Clara felt a sigh escape her lips, a small relief rushing through her. The skeptical boy from the back unfolded his arms slightly. So, it's not just about the loot? He asked, genuine interest flickering across his features. Exactly. Mr. Thompson nodded, his smile encouraging. It's about the people we meet, the adventures we share, and the bonds we create along the way. What happened next? Lily piped up, inching forward on the floor. Clara's heart swelled. Mr. Thompson's expression shifted from reflective to animated, as if he had just discovered a hidden treasure of his own. Next, we had to escape a sandstorm. We worked together, using the old map in our wits. It wasn't easy, but we figured it out as a team. We even made up a song to keep our spirits up. Laughter welled up from the children. Mr. Thompson stood up, arms exaggeratedly moving as he began to hum a silly tune, inviting everyone to join in. Slowly they clapped, laughter uniting them all. Clara couldn't help but join in, feeling the energy transform the room. But amid the joy, she noticed Mrs. Jenkins still lingering at the door, arms crossed, skepticism carved into her features. Clara's stomach twisted. Would the adults ever understand? I'm sure some of you have your own adventures, right? Mr. Thompson spoke, scanning the faces of the kids, eager to bring them into the fold. Yeah, I found a cool rock once, shouted Max, jumping out of his seat. I went to the lake last summer. Another chimed in. Clara felt this wave of connectivity wash over them, each story weaving tighter threads into their tapestry of shared experiences. Tension melted away as they traded their little adventures like treasure troves, opening up. But a voice pierced through. Well, you still can't be a real treasure hunter, just a story guy. The boy who had questioned Mr. Thompson stood defiantly. The laughter faded again, and Clara's heart twisted once more, worry creeping in. Mr. Thompson felt that shift too. She could see it in his posture. The stories that had built a bridge now faced a potential collapse. What if Mr. Thompson began, his eyes narrowing playfully? I told you that storytelling is a form of treasure hunting. Every tale is a path to something great. He raised an eyebrow, challenging the boy. Really? Like finding gold? The boy asked, a flicker of doubt mingling with curiosity. In its own way. Mr. Thompson grinned, the challenge igniting something in his eyes. Every time you listen, you collect new treasures, lessons of bravery, friendship, and adventure. And those, my young friends, are the greatest treasures of all. The room filled with murmurs, thoughts processing the sentiment. Clara held her breath. Would they rally behind him now? As the atmosphere shifted, Clara locked eyes with Mr. Thompson. Hope surged within her. But she knew they all faced uncertainty. Are we ready to dive deeper? He asked, compelling them all to lean into the moment, hearts open, ready for more. And just when it seemed they were finally united, a low chime of a school bell echoed in the distance, slicing through the warmth, reminding them all that their adventure was far from over. Would they continue the journey together, hand in hand, or would that bell ring in separation? Clara's mind raced with the question, uncertainty hanging in the air once more. As the echoes of the school bell slowly faded, Clara felt a flutter of tension in her chest, battling against the blooming joy in the room. Would the children decide to close ranks once more, retreating back to safety, or share their bright futures with Mr. Thompson? You know, Mr. Thompson said suddenly, his voice cutting through the heaviness with ease, the best explorers don't just find treasure. They share it too. His eyes sparkled as he addressed the kids. What treasures do you think we all have in common? Lily's eager hand shot up. Stories. Yes, exactly. We all have stories that make us who we are, Mr. Thompson agreed, nodding enthusiastically now. I have a funny one. Max jumped in. One time I was trying to catch a fish, and I caught my shoe instead. Laughter erupted and the earlier tension continued to dissolve, replaced by playful banter, and an unspoken understanding that now flowed like sweet nectar. Clara watched in awe as the children transitioned from cautious whispers to raucous laughter. Mr. Thompson was transforming before her eyes, melting into their collective energy. She saw it as if he were an artist, painting connections with every shared moment, every smile, and every heartbeat. I've got a story about a brave turtle too. Another girl chimed in, her cheeks glimmering with excitement. Each child began to narrate their own experiences, bouncing ideas around like a game. Clara felt the warmth of community breaking through the walls built by misunderstanding. But even as the room filled with laughter, Clara caught a lingering shadow outside the window. Mrs. Jenkins still watching from a distance, arms crossed, lips pressed thin, doubt clinging to her like an unwelcome scarf in summer. Clara knew that for any transformation to truly take root, it had to go beyond that threshold. "Why don't we take this outside? Let us have some fun in the sun," Mr. Thompson suggested, and the murmurs of approval rose like hot air balloons ready to soar. With a deep breath, Clara glanced back at Mrs. Jenkins, the air thick with challenge. "I think we'll be okay out there." Her voice rang sweet with steel. Giving Mrs. Jenkins a nod, she decided it was now or never. Open the door, or let it close for good. As the kids clamored outside with squeals of joy, Clara stepped toward the door, bracing herself as she called out, "Mrs. Jenkins, would you like to join us? We're inviting everyone to play." The challenge rang clear. For a moment time hung in silence. Clara saw Mrs. Jenkins' eyes widen, caught off guard. The moment stretched, tension gripping Clara's heart. Would she refuse, continue clinging to her suspicions, or step forward, accepting a chance to embrace something new? Finally, Mrs. Jenkins hesitated, her expression wobbling between defiance and curiosity. Clara held her breath, and as if the whole world had paused, their eyes locked, one clinging to the past, the other striving for connection. I suppose I can take a look," Mrs. Jenkins replied, her tone softer than before. As she joined them outside, there was a ripple of surprise amongst the children. Clara felt a surge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could build something beautiful together, an understanding, a community woven into the fabric of shared experiences. Mr. Thompson knelt down, ready to lead them in a game, his laughter brightening even the driest parts of the day. The barriers seemed to dissolve. Children spoke freely, curiosity blossomed. Clara watched as everything unfolded before her, breathing in the sense of tea sweetened with connection, friendship, and finally a sense of belonging. As evening set in, the sunlight waned, but joy remained palpable, radiating around them like fireflies dancing in the twilight. The once quiet neighborhood now shimmered with life and laughter, a patchwork of families chosen through shared moments. Clara couldn't help but smile, warm tears of joy brimming in her eyes. This wasn't the ending but a beautiful new beginning. They had taken those moments of uncertainty, the judgment, and turned them into something so much greater. And, as she held Lily's hand tightly, Clara understood. It's the connections we forge that hold the greatest treasures of all. With hope in her heart, Clara turned to the camera, a beaming smile on her face. You need to subscribe now to keep up with amazing transformations like this one. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share this incredible story. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment below with your own experiences of growth and connection. This is the moment to show your support. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together they had created a new story for themselves, a place where no one stood alone, but instead held each other as hands strong and united.